A very good day to all of you. Welcome to the first video in the online Gosho study meeting. In this video, we'll be covering dialogue, strengthening human ties based on spirit of great compassion. The reference material for this study is A Religion of Human Revolution from page 21 to 39. Can you remember the most meaningful dialogue you had last time? Have you ever thought about why we engage those around us in dialogue? The fundamental spirit of Buddhism since the time of Shakyamuni is to help the surrounding person to become happy. And it is this fundamental wish of the Buddha that was also cherished by Nichiren Daishonin, the Buddha of the latter day of the law, that has been inherited and carried on by the Soka Gakkai today. President Ikeda upholds the spirit of dialogue and led Soka Gakkai to achieve great success in the Shakubu campaign. One of the successful campaigns was the February campaign. The historic February campaign of 1952 was a starting point of what has now become an annual Soka Gakkai tradition. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the February campaign. Last month, we participated in the SGM February Hope-Filled Dialogue campaign, and I truly believe that all of you have created a hope-filled dialogue with your friends. February campaign was an exhilarating drama of broadening dialogue that began with individuals who had awakened to their mission as Bodhisattvas of the earth, standing up resolutely to take action for cause and rufu. At the time, every chapter was engaged in a bold effort to spread the Daishonin's Buddhism, striving to fulfill the second Soka Gakkai President Josei Toda's membership goal of 750,000 households. Progress was slow. However, Mr. Toda lamented, at this rate, cause and rufu will take 50,000 years. One day, he said to Mr. Ikeda, "Daisaku, will you take the lead?" Mr. Ikeda immediately replied in the affirmative, adding, "I will turn this situation around and launch such a great publication initiative that you will be astonished. Put your mind at ease and leave it to me." The young Mr. Ikeda, just 24 at the time, had roused the members to advance out of appreciation for their mentor, Josei Toda. In February 1952, Mr. Ikeda took the lead as a chapter advisor in Tokyo's Kamada chapter, and with the fellow chapter members set in motion of groundswell or dialogue. In those days, most chapters had a difficult time going beyond 100 new member household in a month. During the February campaign, members on the front lines held countless dialogues with those around them, determined to help them become happy. It was Mr. Toda who had enabled them to encounter the Gonzon and the transformative life philosophy of human revolution, through which they transformed acute suffering into advancement and hope. In response, Kamada chapter, with Mr. Daisaku in the lead, introduced a record-breaking 201 families in a single month to Nichiren Buddhism, creating what is now regarded as the February tradition. Inspired by the breakthrough, other chapters also went on to significantly exceed the previous monthly barrier of 100 new households, and the momentum for cause and rufu accelerated towards realizing the goal of 750,000 households. Mr. Toda often say that cause and rufu begins with one-to-one, face-to-face dialogue. Buddhism is a religion of dialogue. Let us learn the noble spirit of face-to-face dialogue that was carried out by Shakyamuni. Shakyamuni took the initiative as one human being to go among the people and talk with them. This was an expression of his noble spirit of compassion, which made it impossible for him to ignore anyone was suffering or unhappy. Shakyamuni's manner of interacting with people was described as welcoming and hospitable, friendly in speech, happy to see each other, always pleasant and bright, and eager to greet others before they greet him. As Soka Gakkai members, we, too, sincerely reach out to talk with and encourage others. We uphold the same spirits in my dialogue, my retreat, to engage in pleasant conversations with others while warmly embracing them with compassion and empathy. This is truly the epitome of humanistic Buddhist dialogue. In this installment, let us study the spirit of dialogue that pulses vibrantly in the Buddhism of the human revolution. Nichiren Daishonin states on establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land.
The host then spoke. I've been brooding alone upon this matter, indignant in my heart, but now that you have come, we can lament together. Let us discuss the question at length.
Daishonin treatise on establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, written in the form of dialogue between his guests, begins with the host listening to the guest's anguished concerns. The guest laments the miserable state of society caused by famines, epidemics, and other calamities, and he expresses his fervent wish to be able to bring their misery to an end. With the words, I have been brooding alone upon this matter, indignant in my heart, the host indicates that he shares the guest's concerns. This shared concerns is the opening for the dialogue on how to free all people from suffering, transform society, and create a brighter future for humanity. Though, on a different level, Mr. Ikeda had a dialogue with British historian Arnold J. Toynbee, also began with their shared concern of how humanity could work together to build a peaceful world. This year marks 50 years since Mr. Ikeda began his dialogue with world-renowned British historian Dr. Toynbee. Through their meeting, he embarked on a worldwide journey of dialogue with more than 1,600 influential figures in the realms of academia, politics, business, activism, and art. Not all of Mr. Ikeda's dialogue partners have shared corresponding views of life and peace. In fact, he has met with figures whose ideas sharply differ from his own. Yet, regardless of the person's background or belief system, Mr. Ikeda, through his unceasing efforts to emphasize people's common humanity, has underscored that dialogue has the power to create a more peaceful world. The dialogue spanned many topics concerning the future of humanity, including the nature of human beings, the natural environment, health, education, politics, religion, literature, and issues of war and peace. In reading the dialogue, we observe that Mr. Ikeda and Dr. Toynbee didn't agree on certain issues. However, in each instance, they came to a common understanding based on their mutual desire for peace and human happiness. The dialogue between Mr. Ikeda and Dr. Toynbee is a role model for all of us to conduct an in-depth dialogue. During the My Dialogue, My Retreat campaign, we may encounter disagreement on certain issues. What is important is how do we reach a common understanding. It's been more than half century since the start of their dialogue in May 1972, which later was published in English under the title Choose Life. Today, it has been translated into 30 languages and is widely read around the world. On establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, after expressing their shared concern, the guest passionately expresses his belief while questioning the host's belief and motive. The host answers one by one the doubts and objective expressed by the guest, and by the end establishes a relationship of understanding, empathy, and trust, which is described by the phrase, you have associated with a friend in the orchid room. Just a scent of orchids perfumes the room in which they are placed. The fragrance of the host's compassion envelops the guest's hearts. Mr. Ikeda said, it's one's admirable personal traits and character that open others' hearts and change their thinking. And those qualities do not derive from the one's social status or position. Rather, they are a manifestation of how one lives one's life. The example of people who, whatever their circumstances or background, lead strong, positive, confident, live dedicated to the happiness to others and the welfare of society, cannot help but move and inspire those around them. By embracing the mystic law and devoting our life to fulfilling the great vow for Kosen Rufu and realizing the Daishonin's ideal of establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, our life acquired without our even being aware of it, a fragrance as lofty and refined as orchids. Our dialogue starts from compassionate prayers for others' happiness. When we base our life on the mystic law, all of our efforts to reach out to speak with and enable others to form a connection with Buddhism will help them reveal their own inner potential. In Nichiren Daishonin and the Eternal Mentors of the Soka Gakkai, we find examples of individuals relentlessly carrying out courageous dialogue with one person after another for the sake of creating peace. At this crucial time in our country's history, let us resolve again to become good friends to those we encounter and encourage them to become protagonists in changing their life and contributing to the betterment of society. At the close of the treatise on establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, the guest expresses his determination. It's not enough that I alone should accept and have faith in your words. We must see to it that others as well are warned of their errors. It thus ends with the host and guest making a shared vow. This clearly shows the true aim of the dialogue that we are engaging in. Above all, increasing one by one the number of people who are awakened to the truth of the mystic law and share a common vow to make the world a better place is an impetus for creating a peaceful society. Dialogue directed toward establishing the correct teaching for the peace of the land, which elevates shared concerns into a shared vow, is certain to become a vital cornerstone for world peace. The dialogue carried out by the Soka Gakkai members is fueled by a belief in the Buddha nature of all people. Awakening the Buddha nature in others is key to realizing true happiness for ourselves and others. This is because a shared conviction in our own and others' potential for Buddhahood as a power to transcend all differences and become the foundation of shared happiness and shared peace. This is precisely the kind of dialogue that the world so badly needs today.
The practice of making a vow of obeisance carried out by the Bodhisattva never disparaging is based on the teaching that the people he bowed to were all certain to attain Buddhahood, and therefore is an expression of pity and compassion. Hence, although the people might take sticks of wood or tiles and stones and beat and pelt him, he nevertheless persisted in his effort, preaching to them forcefully, though it angered them, an action that arose from his feelings of pity and compassion. Since we are taught that the Buddha mind is a mind of great pity and compassion, a vow of obeisance is made in acknowledgement of this pity and compassion.
In the following excerpts from the New Human Revolution, Volume 25, Shinichi Yamamoto urged the members, we may tend to feel disappointed and dispirited if, despite how earnestly we share Buddhism with someone that don't take faith, but the benefits obtained through letting people hear the teaching and leading people to arouse faith in the teaching are the same. The important thing is to speak out and share the correct teachings of Buddhism. You all know about Bodhisattva never disparaging. Our propagation efforts to plant the seeds of Buddhism are the modern day equivalent of his practice. Isn't that amazing? Bodhisattva never disparaging believed that all living beings possess the Buddha nature, and so saying, he knelt placing his hands together in the gestures of reverence. But people reacted to his words with anger and hatred, disbelieving what he said. They defamed and cursed him, set upon him with sticks and staves, and threw roof tiles and stones at him. Still, Bodhisattvas never disparaging said, I have profound reverence for you, and continue to show respect for his attackers. He never stopped bowing to them. Our members in the early days of our movement had the same experience. Though they all had their own problems and were bearing their own karma, such as poverty or illness, they actively reached out to others to share Nichiren Buddhism with them. They were met with ridicule and insults. However, and people told them to come back when they had solved their own problems and become happy. Mr. Ikeda said, our goal is for each person to find true happiness through practicing Nichiren Buddhism. Therefore, it goes without saying that it's very important for you to have a strong desire that they begin practicing this faith for themselves. But even if they don't practice Buddhism, there's no need to be disillusioned or disappointed. Try talking to one person. If it doesn't go well, try talking to 2 more people. If that still doesn't work out, try 3, 5, 10. And if 10 are unfruitful, then try 20. If 20 doesn't work out, then try 30 and 40. The point is just to keep sharing Buddhism with conviction and in high spirits. All those efforts will be transformed into benefit and good fortune, a force for transforming your karma. Mr. Toda often say that for us ordinary people, courageous action can substitute for compassion, which can be difficult to someone. We of the Soka Gakkai are making courageous and persevering efforts in dialogue amid the realities of this troubled age to awaken people to the Buddha nature that possess but are not yet aware of it. We could truly be called present-day Bodhisattvas never disparaging, embodying the 3 rules of preaching. Today, courageous dialogue has the power to meet the icy walls of hatred and mistrust that divide people along superficial lines. Dialogues is not simply a conversation or verbal exchange. Rather, dialogue comes from the shared wish of 2 people to respect one another, learn from one another, and mutually grow as a result of their interaction. The attacks Bodhisattva never disparaging encountered never make him stop his practice of bowing in reverence to others. Bowing in reverence to others is an act of life-to-life dialogue. Bodhisattvas never disparaging bowed so fervently because he had complete and utter faith in the Buddha nature of all whom he met. Nichiren Daishonin explains the phrase, preaching to them forcefully, though it angered them, as meaning,
one should by all means persist in preaching the Lotus Sutra and causing people of the latter day of the law to hear it. Those who put their faith in it will surely attain Buddhahood, while those who slander it will establish a poison drum relationship with it and will likewise attain Buddhahood.
What is important is we must dialogue with compassion and infused with prayer and conviction that through the dialogue can form a connection with Nichiren Buddhism. Although they may reject what we are saying at the time, we have enabled them to form a tie with Buddhism deep in their life. Through the benefit of their reverse relationship, the arrogant four kinds of believers, monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen, who attacked Bodhisattva never disparaging, were eventually able to encounter him again and open the way to happiness in their own life. This is a teaching of the Lotus Sutra. Those who hear the teaching of the mystic law may not accept it immediately. They may reject it, stirring great anger and foolishness in their hearts, leading them to persecute the person who taught them. Through having heard the law, though, a connection to Buddhism has been forged in their life, and the seed for attaining Buddhahood has been sown with them. A passage from the record of the orally transmitted teaching states, the Buddha mind is a mind of great pity and compassion. This is a clear assertion that Buddhahood is a spirit of compassion. The Buddha mind is a profound compassion that wishes for the enlightenment of all living beings. Buddhahood is not some state of being separate or removed from our own life. The Daishonin teaches that the life state of Buddhahood shines brightly in the minds and bodies of those who share his vow and take action for the happiness of others. Mr. Toda often used to say that having compassion and empathy for others is the essence of sharing Nichiren Buddhism. However, compassion is not like an act of aims which happens in only one direction. Rather, it's an expression of our earnest belief in the Buddha nature of others who live in this world as we do. How do we emerge from true compassion? True compassion is manifested as care and concern for others, as patience to persevere in helping others, believing that they will definitely change for the better, and as courage to overcome the fear that others may react negatively. Buddhist dialogue is an act of compassion expressing supreme respect for the other person. When we expand Buddhist dialogue in accord with the compassionate vow of the Buddha, we polish our life and grow too. It is the ultimate form of Buddhist practice for both ourselves and others. One cannot fail to fill us with vibrant joy. The more we engage in dialogue with people, all of whom possess different states of life, the more we expand our own state of life and strengthen our compassionate spirit. The Bodhisattvas of the earth are true experts in dialogue. The Lotus Sutra describes them as being clever at difficult questions and answers. Their minds know no fear. They have firmly cultivated persevering minds. Through our Buddhist practice of sharing Nichiren Buddhism with others, we can transform our own state of life and create a life of great human revolution based on compassion.
Nichiren Daishonin states, at first, only Nichiren chanted Nammyo Horin Geikyo, but then 2, 3, and 100 followed, chanting and teaching others. Propagation will unfold this way in the future as well. Does this not signify emerging from the earth?
In his writing, The True Aspect of All Phenomena, Nichiren Daishonin sets forth the eternal formula for Kosen Rufu. In the Emerging from the Earth 15th chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the Bodhisattvas of the earth emerge dynamically from the earth. Their number is likened to 60,000 times the grains of the sand of the Ganges River. This brilliant array of innumerable Bodhisattvas of the earth, leading equally innumerable retinues of followers, appears from the depths of the earth. As Kosen Rufu expands, the ranks of the Bodhisattva of the earth will also expand. They will continue to flow to without end. In the early days of our movement for worldwide Kosen Rufu, visiting places where there were not yet members, Mr. Ikeda chanted Nammyo Horin Geikyo as if to permeate the land, convinced that eventually a mighty stream of the Bodhisattvas of the earth would emerge there. When Mr. Ikeda visited India in February 1979, there are 40 members. True to his words that the Ganges River also started with a single drop, those 40 members have grown into a mighty river of more than 150,000 Bodhisattvas of the earth in India. Bodhisattvas of the earth will emerge without fail to fulfill the mission of Kosen Rufu everywhere throughout the world. This was Nichiren's conviction when he stated that it all starts with first one person chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo. And he goes on to declare, propagation will unfold this way in the future as well, predicting that the numbers of Bodhisattvas of the earth will continue to grow and expand forever. What was the driving force to empower Mr. Ikeda to lead the February campaign? Mr. Ikeda was determined to adorn the month of February when both Nichiren Daishonin and Mr. Toda were born. He didn't order the members of Kamada chapter to share Buddhism, but rather rouse them with the spirit to fight based on the sense of appreciation. Mr. Ikeda describes the depth of his own gratitude as follows. February is the month in which Nichiren Daishonin was born, and the month of President Toda's birth as well. We can practice Nichiren Buddhism today because the Daishonin appeared in the latter day and propagated the mystic law for the enlightenment of all people. And we can practice correctly as SGM members because Mr. Toda courageously embarked on the solitary struggle to rebuild the Soka Gakkai after World War II and make Kosen Rufu a reality, carrying on the vision of his mentor, founding Soka Gakkai president Mr. Makikuchi, who died in prison for his belief. Thus, we threw ourselves into the February campaign of 1952 with deep appreciation and desire to repay our gratitude to these great leaders and teachers of Kosen Rufu. The strong determination enabled Mr. Ikeda to overcome his limitations and take concrete action that led to achieving a breakthrough in our efforts to increase the momentum of propagation. The key is to win out over yourself in the February campaign. The members liberated themselves from the feeling of being chained by their karma and stood up resolutely to engage in Buddhist dialogue. This brought forth their inner Buddhahood and gave them the power to carry out the Buddha's work as emissaries of the Buddha. Everyone who took part in February campaign triumphed over their own limitations. Their transformation as they carried out their human revolution stirred a genuine response from others and bore fruit as successful propagation. The spirit of dialogue is embodied in the great vow of all members and disciples of Nichiren Buddhism, Kosen Rufu. Kosen literally means to proclaim widely. Without the practice of dialogue, Kosen Rufu or the widespread propagation of Buddhism cannot be achieved. Mr. Toda was a champion of dialogue, readily able to speak with anyone. It set in motion a great search of progress for Kosen Rufu through the expansion of dialogues, reaching from ordinary citizens to national leaders. As his disciple, Mr. Ikeda has held numerous open-hearted dialogues for peace with world leaders and thinkers, transcending religious and cultural differences, has met with men, women, young and old, and done his best to help as many people as possible form a connection with Nichiren Buddhism. The path of dialogue that Mr. Ikeda pioneered has been broadly developed by youthful members around the world who share his commitment. World thinkers have praised his movement and expressed high hopes for it. Dr. Sarah Wider, former president of Ralph Waldo Emerson Society, has noted that SGI values dialogues and cherishes the lofty ideal of building the best possible human society. The organization, she commented, is filled with vigorous life force that enables all life to thrive, grow, and develop. Mr. Ikeda explains, provocations must always take place in the context of deepening friendship and earning the trust of others Today, we live an age in which there are superficial discussions, but the true dialogue is lacking. Provocation Nichiren Buddhism, however, is a true dialogue, a stimulating exchange based on consideration and concern for our friends, as we invite them to walk with us on the path of true and complete happiness. Ultimately, whether people decide to practice or not, our dialogues about Buddhism help us form a deeper ties of friendship with those around us. Talking about Buddhism often leads to discussions about profound perspective of life, how to overcome our suffering and our experiences of personal transformation. The dialogues that we of the Soka Gakkai are carrying out on a daily basis around the globe are creating a gentle, deep flowing, yet sure current of change towards the realization of a peaceful world. Dialogues filled with warmth, hope, and youthful spirit are illuminating the world. Our dialogues are the ultimate force for building a better future for humanity. Let us leave behind an inspiring drama as courageous Bodhisattvas of the earth and experts in the art of happiness. In closing, Mr. Ikeda would like to share with the lion's role of Mr. Toda. If we, the followers of Nichiren Daishonin, example in Greek numbers, but are unable to achieve Kosen-Rufu, then how can we possibly show our faces to him when we arrive on Eagle Peak? Fellow Bodhisattvas of the earth, let's take on this challenge of making Kosen-Rufu a reality. What is important now is to win over oneself to achieve an absolute victory for youthful Gakkai. SGM General Director Mr. Kosefe encouraged us. Who is that one person who will arise and strive? It's none other than ourselves. We should not wait for others. We have to arise on our own first of all. We must stand in the vanguard and open up the path. Let us resolve together to take the lead to expand the network of dialogue and shakabuku. Thank you for the time, and please have a great day ahead.